Top of the morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the men and ladies out there, and of course the boys and girls and any other animals that might speak English that are listening in today. You're all very welcome. Celtic Coach here, radio show where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. All right, now, you know by now that the radio station that we're doing the show is moving. So I'm doing some weekly videos instead. It's actually a lot of fun. I get to dress up a little bit and hang out next to the San Francisco Bridge. You know, it's a little chilly today, I have to say. Should have wore a hat, but it's kind of nice. I have a lot of, as a coach and a trainer of life coaches, I have a lot of students and clients that talk to me about stress. You know, their job is stressful, their life is stressful, their relationships are stressful, money is stressful. And one of the things that I've learned over the past year or two with a few of my mentors, Steve Chandler and Michael Neal, is that stress is not something that happens to us. It's not something that comes from the outside world. Now, most people will say, well, that person makes me stressful and that situation makes me stress, gives me stress, and I have a lot of stress right now. I have so much going on. But it's really interesting that the stress is actually not coming from the outside world. The stress is not coming from the person, place, or thing. Of course, that begs the question then, well, where is the stress coming from? Stress is an internal thing. Stress is created this way. So it's actually quite simple. Stress is your thinking is going faster than the speed of your life. Like, think about life. Life is going, you know, at about 5 miles an hour. And your thinking is going at about 50 miles an hour. And so if your thinking and life is going at different speeds, they're going to miss each other. And you're going to feel out of control. You're going to feel like there's too much going on in my head. And that's exactly the reason why we get stressed, because there's too much. It's not that there's too much going on in the world. Now, look, life is a full contact sport. It's busy. There's no question about that. You know, you get one thing done, there's 20 things knocking on the door waiting to go. But that's not what causes us stress. It's not the thing that causes us stress. It's the thinking that we have about the thing. Now, in a very simplistic way, how does our experience of life get created? Very simple. We live in a universe of thought. Thought is coming in all day. All day long, thoughts are coming in. You're not thinking all your thoughts. You're not creating all your thoughts. You're not pulling in your thoughts from your head. They are just coming in. We live in a universe of thought. There's a magnitude, an endless stream of thoughts. It's like we're a radio receiver and the universe is just sending out these thoughts. Now, you can call that spirit, God, consciousness, superconsciousness, Yahweh, Jehovah, Billy Bob, Barbara, you know, whatever you want to call that thing that's in charge that's not me. Although I think a lot of the time I am. But I've realized that I'm not. And we're an antenna and we're picking up those thoughts. And one of the things that we can do with thought is we can think about thought. Now, when we start to think about a thought, life is very stressful, right? We start thinking about that. The thought comes in, life is very stressful. We start thinking about it. Life is very stressful. And then we feel that thought. So we live in a world, we live in the feeling of our thinking or the feeling of thought, not in the feeling of the world. Because the world is neutral. Like, you can take a $10 bill and look at it and say, oh, when I have 100 of these, I feel really good. And when I only have one of them, I feel bad. But the money itself, the $10 bill, is not giving you anything. There's no value inherent in the piece of paper. Now, that can be a tough one for a lot of people to comprehend. That we don't live in the feeling of the world, we live in the feeling of our thinking about the world. Now, when it comes to stress, people say, well, I need to do techniques and different things to to get rid of my stress and to judge my stress. But here's the thing, what I'm learning for myself. Stress, in a way, is inevitable. But it's not that it's the stress from the outside world. It's stressful thinking. It's anxious thinking. It's fearful thinking. It's a lot of thinking about something, about a person, place, or thing, a situation. But it's not coming from the outside world. It's coming from the inside world. Because you see, our world gets created from the inside out, not from the outside in. But most of us are led to believe, heck, we're even trained and taught this in school, that stress comes from people, places, and things. When in reality, the stress that we're feeling comes from our own thinking. We're feeling our own thinking. Now, if you don't believe me, just think the next time that you get caught up in your thinking. Like I had a student, and a student said, I got so much going on in my head, busy head. And if I was to take time and really coach that person, I'd find out that there's more going on in their head than there is actually in their life. If we were to compare the two, if we were to make a list of, okay, these are all the things that are going on in my life, and these are all the things that are going on in my head. There'd be a lot more going on in their head than on the list. Are you sure about that, Dermot? Yes, I am. I've done that for myself. So what to do? So we have stressful thinking. It's not that we are stressed, right? I am stressed. There's no such thing as I am stressed. I am a human. I am a spiritual being having a human experience, however you want to think about that spiritually. But I am stressed? No. You have stressful thinking. You have anxious thinking. You have fearful thinking. You have tense thinking. And that's the first point I want to make today. The second point, equally important, is that when we push against something, when we judge something, when we resist something, it pushes back, right? You've heard the old adage of what you resist, or what you resist persists. In the same way that if you are not willing in some way, shape, or form, in some very small form, to be okay with that stressful thinking, to make it okay, to not push against it. Because every time you judge something, oh, I'm overweight, I'm unhealthy, I'm always late, I'm not dependable, I don't have any confidence. Every time that you judge yourself for something, you lock that perspective or judgment about yourself in place. Every time. Now, the key to that is you don't have to say, okay, I need to work harder at being confident because I don't feel confident. What you're really saying is that you don't have confident thinking. But you don't have to work hard at being more confident. And by the way, confidence is created in your thinking. There's actually no such thing as confidence. Like you can't go to the shop and say, hey, can I get a pint of milk, a slice of bread, and a pound of confidence? Like you can't buy it anywhere. There's nowhere where you can see it. Confidence is your thinking, created by your thinking. Because when you tell yourself, hey, I feel confident, you're saying, hey, I'm thinking confident thoughts, and therefore I feel confident. Now, you can have experiences and things that say to you, well, the more experience I have, the more confidence I have. But really, it's not so much the confidence. It's just you have more experience, so you have less thinking about the experience. It's not that your confidence is growing. It's that the more comfortable that you feel with something, the less thinking you have about it. And so therefore you say that my confidence level. When you have less thinking about something, you say your confidence level is growing up. But really, you just have less thinking about it. I know, it's simple. I know. Now, does that mean I don't get caught up in my thinking? I get caught up in my thinking all the time. In fact, just today I had a conversation with my girlfriend about how much thinking I had going on. All right? We get caught up in our thinking. And we don't have to punish ourselves or say, I got to do better, I got to think less. You can't think less. It's impossible. We live in a universe of thought. Thought is coming in all day long. You're not thinking, you don't have all these thoughts yourself. They're coming in. And then like a radio dial, you pick them up and you tune into a station. You know, the station of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm unhealthy, I'm a terrible person, I'm a terrible parent, I'm a terrible father, whatever it is. All you got to do is to notice that you're caught up in your thinking. That's it. You don't have to change your thinking. You don't have to fight against it. When we have stressful thinking, all we got to do in that moment is notice, hey, I'm stuck in some stressful thinking right now. Now, you can sit and meditate or have a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever it is you think is going to relax that thinking so that you can feel less stressed, feel less of that stressful thinking. And for years I smoked, and I judged myself mercilessly, you know, because I smoked every time I got stressed. The positive intention, for every negative behavior, there's a positive intention. The positive intention, of course, was that I felt peaceful. It relaxed my thinking when I smoked. But I kept that judgment in place, and I kept the habit in place because of the judgment of it. And when finally I saw, wow, you know, I smoke, and the positive intention there for me is so that I feel more peace. When I really got that, not cognitive, not in my head, but when I really got that in my being, it was like, wow, I don't need to smoke anymore. So if you have judgments about your behavior, your beliefs, your habits, whatever it is you go, your life, parts of your life, choose today to be a little softer about those judgments. Now, it may or may not be possible for you to say, okay, I'm just going to let go of that judgment. Because it's going to come back up. Judgment is thinking. Judgment is simply you have a thought, you start thinking about it. I'm unworthy, I'm a piece of this, I'm a piece of, you know, I'm a terrible person. It's thinking, and you feel you're thinking. In the moment that you notice that, just let go of it. Just say, okay, yeah, there's my thinking going again. You don't have to say, thank you for sharing thinking, because that's just you're still giving energy to it. Like, have you ever noticed when you're washing the dishes or you got a problem and you're obsessing about it, and then somebody comes in and starts talking to you? The problem goes away and you start talking to the person. And then when the person leaves, you come back with your thinking. So you don't have to do anything with your thinking. People think you have to do something. You've got to affirm it away, or meditate it away, or push it away, or force it away, you know, or breathe it away, right? You don't. You just got to notice that you're stuck in your thinking. When you're feeling stressful, when you're feeling your stressful thinking, just notice it. And the very fact of noticing it will start to alleviate your thinking. You can have stressful thinking and then still go out and wash the dishes, wash the car, have a cup of coffee with someone, sit and watch the TV. You can have all that, because in the moment that you start to put your attention onto something else. Now, the key is not to say, I've got stressful thinking right now, so I'm going to put my attention on something else so I can forget all about it. Because that's kind of just another way of saying, okay, I'm not going to look at the pink elephant that's in the room right now. He's looking at me, but I'm not going to look at the pink elephant. You're going to look at the pink elephant. It's a pink elephant in your room, for God's sakes. All right? So just notice your stressful thinking. Say, hey, I'm caught up in some stressful thinking right now. It's not about a person, place, or thing. It's that reaction, that thinking, reactionary thinking to whatever is in the outside world. We feel our thinking. The world's doing its thing. The world is just, it's neutral. People are neutral. Money is neutral. They have no inherent, money has no inherent value, but somebody cannot make you angry or stressed out unless you give thinking to it. And that's pretty good news, because you start to understand, as I'm starting to understand, that my stress has got nothing to do with the outside world. You know, I mean, if you want an example, look at Viktor Frankl. in Man's Search for Meaning. He was in a concentration camp, and he was at peace in such a horrible condition, burying people and seeing people gassed and killed every day. And he was at peace because he realized that it wasn't about what was going on outside of him. It was what was going on inside of him that created his experience, his feelings through his thinking. So let's bring this all together now. When you get stuck in some fearful thinking, in some stressful thinking, in some anxious thinking, make it okay. If you're having a bad day, make it okay. You can ask yourself, what permission do I need to give myself in this moment to be okay with my stressful thinking? You know, what do I need to acknowledge in this moment to not push against what's happening? What is it I don't need to do in this moment to be okay with this stressful thinking, anxious thinking, fearful thinking, negative situation, person, place, or thing? How might I be okay with not feeling okay in the moment? How might I judge myself a little less today? What do I want to do instead of judging myself? What would I rather do? I'd rather love myself. So what's one small way that I could practice a little more self-love today? See, it's just about softening. It's about leaning in. It's not about, let me change that, let me turn that around on a dime. Because we change in small bits. You know, change is inevitable, but we change slowly through life. Very hard to do those big shifts. They happen for people, usually associated with a lot of pain or a near-death experience, you know. But most of us don't have those, you know. So we change in bits. So can you be okay with where you are today? I say this to the students all the time, you know, because they say, Dermot, I've got so much in my head, so much I've got to learn in this coach training that you're training us. And I say, yeah, can you be okay today? Because what you know today is enough. I mean, honestly, how much do you need to really know to enjoy your life? Like, how much self-development do you need to do to really appreciate the moment? How much, you know, change and growing do you need to do in order to just live your life? How much do you really need to know to have a wonderful life? How much do you really need to know to have a great relationship? It's a lot less than you think. I'm like a self-development crazy person for 20 years. Self-development. And I was quite, as a Scorpio, you know, quite intense about it all. But I realized one day, you know, for me to have a great life, I don't actually need to change that much. You know, yeah, I've got stuff going on. I've got all sorts of crazy thinking. But every day I'm learning more and more to be okay with that crazy thinking, to be okay with the moment, to be okay with not feeling well, to be okay with feeling crappy today, to be okay with, I'm totally lost in my head right now. Oh, I just did a training with a group and it was horrible. Can I be okay with that? Because in the moment that I judge that, I lock it into place. Judgment is a great way to lock something into place that you don't want. So what's the alternative? You know, I took a spiritual psychology course 20 years ago in LA. And one of the things I always remember from that course, you know, the trainer said that healing is the application of love to all the places inside that hurt. And I think about that in terms of healing is the application of being okay with where I'm at. Because in that moment that I make You know, what I'm learning, okay. What I don't know, okay. That I'm not feeling okay, make that okay. That I'm not where I should be, to make that okay. That I don't have all the money that I want to have, and make that okay. But we constantly berate ourselves and badger ourselves and trying to think of another B, belittle, bulldog ourselves. Okay, that's enough B's. You get the point. You know, we constantly lock that stuff in place because we're not choosing to, we're not willing to just be soft about it. You know, take an area of your life that you're hard about, that you judge yourself, and ask yourself, how could I be a little softer about this? How could I lean towards what I do want as opposed to constantly pushing against what I don't want? How can I turn that a little bit and start to softly lean into what I do want in life? Any number of those questions that I gave you today are great questions. Now, I'm not just saying that because I brought them up myself, but I found them very helpful for myself over the years. Okay. Some great interviews on the Celtic Coach Radio, CelticCoach.com. If you want to know more about stress or the secret of letting go, if you go to CelticCoach.com, go to interviews, radio show interviews, scroll down. There's a few beautiful ones. I did a mentor coach of mine, Catherine Casey, The Secret of Letting Go. Is a really, really wonderful. We talked a lot about stress and anxiety thinking. Also, George Pransky, Living an Unlimited Life. That was a really good one. Check out some of those interviews. They're about 55 to 60 minutes in length. And I hope you've enjoyed our little video today. I'm going to send out one every Friday. I'm going to send out one. So look forward to those. And, you know, if you're interested in coaching, feel free to connect with me through the website. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. Think big, have fun, stay curious. I'm the Celtic Coach. And that, my dear listeners, is no blarney. Cheers, everyone.